It's a culture, man. The meat and
Oh.
potatoes of the episode.
Oh, okay. All right. Welcome to Disparate Worlds, where an irresistible force meets an immovable object. I'm Mox, and this is Sechari, and we're comparing and contrasting the worlds of Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and Ashes of Creation.
Yes, indeed. That we are doing. Hello to you, friends, and hello, Mox. How are you doing, sir?
I'm a little sad. Thomas the train tank won't be tanking or guarding or whatever through the
Yes.
live streams anymore.
Yes, there's been a discussion on the Ashes of Creation forums as to whether we should rename Tank, and there's been a number of things people have suggested.
Well,
I recommend Engine
Yes.
in Jeffrey Bard's honor.
there you go. And we'll
That
talk
would be
about
great.
that further.
We will. Welcome to episode 21. Good to have you with us. Before we go any further, please do the whole like and subscribe thing. Always appreciated. And that way we will not slip into irrelevance
Yes.
here on this platform. This episode, what we're going to cover is really just unpacking the recent Pantheon NPC Combat Tactics developer livestream. You know, that one where Ronak got to not be the one who got picked on for a change.
Right, he didn't get knocked off the side of the building. He didn't die
very
14
rare.
times. Like, what did he
Yeah,
do with all of his time?
He didn't fall to his death. It was someone else for a change. It
He
was-
certainly
I'm sure he
didn't
was-
take guitar lessons with all his time. That's for sure.
Yes, we will discuss that more as well. That's hilarious. But yeah, he met with Joppa and Kyle Olsen, whose character was Kyle Sham.
Yep.
Am I saying this correctly?
Sure.
Yeah, they had Kyle Olsen on the bottom. I'm like, where's the
The
you
in
know,
quotes.
his name?
Yeah.
Like, that's very unlike you guys to not have the name there, so
Right.
they didn't have it.
Right.
So we will discuss all of that coming up here. First, the news.
Yes, in Pantheon news, on May 27th, they announced that they are hiring a environmental artist and world builder. I guess they'll get to work with Jimmy, the environmental guy that we saw building the lands and the worlds and the caves and all that. And then on June 4th, they had their monthly VIP developer roundtable with Ben Kilson and senior programmer Robert Crane. Make sure you check out the link in our description for that. And then finally, the main meat of this episode is the NPC Combat Tactics stream, which had, again, Joppa and Ronak and Kyle on it. So we'll definitely take be discussing that at length here. So
Yes.
over to Ashes.
Yes. Before I start the Ashes, I want you to just make sure that everybody knows I almost had Mark saying meat and potatoes. I got you halfway there. You got to meat, but you got
Is
some
it-
potatoes.
Is
before it
there
could
like
count.
is it like a Disparate Worlds bingo that like if I say meat and potatoes they get like a
It's a culture, man. The meat
Oh.
and potatoes of the episode.
oh okay. All right.
Yes. So yeah, over to Ashes. May 21st, we got another leak from Steven, as he does on his Twitter, which we have been enjoying. Some screenshots of some hair work that they're doing for what I presume is going to be a Valoon character. I'm trying to make sure I don't mess that up again, that I always make sure I mention the race, lest I lose more points.
Yeah. Do you like how I was able to be the hair model for this one?
Yeah.
I tell you,
yeah.
it's some fantastic. Like they do it. Like they're knocking hair out of the park. Like
They are. This is some of the best hair I've seen in video games. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if they have just somebody who just is there doing the art, or
right.
if they have a consultant kind of a person.
I have no idea, but it's there. It's on point.
Yeah. I mean, like even the way that the guy's hair does the bun, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
And
you
then
would
it's
know
like
about
it's
that,
like in
yeah.
dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I was famous for my bun once.
Yeah.
I should do it more often. I should have done it in this episode. Dang it!
Dang it.
In honor of
Opportunity
this
missed.
leak. Right? I hate it when that happens. So yeah, that was really cool. May 27th, we got the news about Jeff Bard leaving Intrepid to work, really just to pursue his passion is really the idea. He's going to go work on VR. Word on the street has it, it's with Skydance Interactive as a principal game designer. I have no idea if that's completely true, but that's what I'm hearing. So
Okay.
you did not hear it first from me.
All right.
Or maybe it all from me. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the question, I guess, Mox, do you think that there's going to be an impact to Intrepid's system, like to the delivery time here of Ashes is going to set them back at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, they've got money, so I'm sure they're going to be able to lure somebody into a position, and it could be a promotion. Who knows? Somebody may internally be ready to take on that role and be already familiar. So it may be they need to fill a junior position and promote a junior to a senior. So I honestly, Steven is a very shrewd designer and leader. I don't think that he'll let this be more than an unhappy speed bump. Not to saying that he's going to just dismiss it, but he will be able to overcome it, I think, rather easily.
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking, I did a little bit of research before this, like I thought I had a good idea as to what a game's producer does.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and double checked. I was able to find a quote on masterclass.com that I'll not go into, but essentially it is the person who's really almost like a project manager, right? Who follows up with everybody, makes sure that they're doing that. There's a timeline, everyone's sticking to it, delivering things on time, etc., etc.
Okay.
Jeff was more of a jack of all trades than that. I think when he started as a he came in as a writer, really, just kind of a story person, and kind of maintained that and stayed in the creative process, but was still doing some of that, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like the jack of all trades, but really Steven's kind of right-hand man. I imagine it hurts to lose him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
It's Lennon and McCartney splitting up,
Right. But at the same time, if you look at it, Intrepid is like at 150 employees right now. That is a lot of production.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like at some stage you need to kind of have a department of people that do that kind of coordination for 150. Granted, some of them are HR, I imagine.
Right.
Some of them are community. So.
Right. They're like a lot of that 150 is low level and will not be impacted by this at all. It's really the impact is on like kind of the relationship that Jeff had with Steven. Like, they knew each other. They know how each other, like, I'm sure that Jeff, like, if Steven sent an email that said one thing and, he really was kind of couching something, that Jeff knew that, kind of deal. Like, they worked closely. So that's where the new person you hope will be able to step in and be able to kind of get up and running quickly, which is why I think an internal person is more likely than an external for somebody in this role.
I mean, you don't know. Maybe it's time to switch gears, right? And bring somebody in who knows medium to AAA size game production and is able to run with that.
Yeah.
Who knows that. I don't know. Like, you don't really know all the internal workings. I'm kind of with you. I don't think this is going to slow Intrepid down in any kind of way. I imagine at this point it's probably a freight train of stuff, right? 150 people, everyone's doing their thing.
Right.
They kind of all know the ropes at this stage, and it's just really about scaling up. I mean, they have most of the stuff for the game good to go. They're just filling the world at this point.
Right.
So I imagine with some other stuff, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I like if he was like so let's say the crafting guy, like the lead crafting guy, and they're just like trying to flesh out the crafting for the alpha, proper, then maybe that might have been more of a impact on the game. But I don't see it as being like everybody's still going to do theirs. I'm sure that Steven has probably stepped into that role of kind of picking up, we'll keep an eye on this, we'll keep it on that until they get somebody up and running on it. So I'm not worried in the least about it. I saw it and was like, that's a shame. It's a loss for the relationships, but I don't think you'd see it as a loss for the company or the project, let's say.
Yeah, and I fully agree. I think that's exactly right. Right now, as far as testing is concerned, this weekend was supposed to be a double header. We're supposed to get something on Friday and on Saturday,
right? And
be able to do both.
But the Pantheon virus worked its magic, I hear.
Yes, somebody enchanted a server. No, there was some critical build error.
Yes, that was
quote
the
unquote.
that was the virus disposition.
Right. The server-phobic disposition that kicked in,
Yes.
and we weren't able to do it. Like, they had to call it off on Saturday and kind of address that. So
So that sucks.
fair
but,
enough.
You know, it happens.
Yeah. And I get it. They have to do testing when they are kind of at work. They can't always do testing in their off hours.
Yeah.
Problem is that's also when I work. So,
What? They don't
Yeah,
work
so
like
sometimes-
5 to 2 a.m.
know.
like, to make it easier for you? Like, man.
Well, so what's going to happen is during the preview weekend and during the actual Alpha 1 proper that happens mid-July is when it's scheduled at this point, I'm taking off work. So
Yay!
we've mentioned it before, and it's happening. It's on the radar at work and everything. So.
I'm excited. I'm going to be calling you every 20 minutes. What happened? Tell me. Describe it. What does it
Just
smell
look
like?
over my shoulder. I'll be live streaming it. So there we go.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yes. We'll have more on that as we get to it, of course, but that is the news for now.
So, we had a Pantheon live stream with Ronik, Joppa, and Kylesham, which was mentioned, Kylesham being the lead programmer. And Ronik was just kind of the host, and Joppa and Kylesham were kind of talking about kind of some gameplay and AI kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here, behavior. NPC AI behavior that's been programmed. And a little bit was over my head. They had like flowcharts of if this happens, then this happens, and if there's 3 people in the group, then do this, otherwise do that. It sounds like it's very, very complex. But it was cool, like because they showed us like kind of the flow of it, and then they showed us like the footage of it, so that was kind of neat. So we got to see that. So that's just basically what we're going to discuss. So we're going to discuss their video, which we will have linked in our description, and kind of our impressions of it, and like things that we felt were interesting, and things we think there might be like are kind of like things, as they say, things that make you go So
Fair enough.
yeah. All right. So.
Well, can we start off with this? Joppa said that, and I think this is correct. I think this speaks to something we've said multiple times on our show before.
What? We said something right?
No, we were wrong.
Oh,
we were wrong
okay.
in this case.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so he said this is not an action combat game.
Right, because we have spent many times said that, boy, this doesn't feel like what's the
like Assassin's Creed?
or it's like it doesn't
playing
feel
lately.
that smooth and all that stuff. So yeah, it's not an action combat MMO. So yes.
Yeah. No, so now I have had the criticism that I have said before. I feel like this is very deliberate, right? Like, I'm summoning a spirit. There he is, right? And now I am summoning this, and now there it is, right? And
Right.
so there's a cast time. I feel the cast time in things. This, and that's fine. I know that they were working on some things, but this video blew my mind. And I love that Joppa was like, look, of course, I mean, and I know they weren't in action combat. It's not a hack and slash, you jump in there.
Right.
It's about dodging, I know that. But it's a different kind of complexity and a different kind of fun.
Right.
And that is having to have the situational awareness to know, okay, hold on, we need to interrupt that at the right time.
Right.
Right? Or they could interrupt you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the more I think about it, the more complex it is, to the point where it's almost like you better have your PvP shoes on, right? Bring your PvP pants. Like, you got to think on your toes. You can't go into this knowing what your game plan is and just execute the game plan. You have to be able to respond to anything.
Right.
In the situation.
And there's going to be, like, depending on, like, if there's also a synergy thing that's going to happen that they, as part of this AI functionality that if NPC A gets summoned in, he'll do certain things, but if NPC B gets summoned in, it'll be different, and you have to be ready for that. And that's all part of the disposition system, which is this AI graphing system is the kind of the core of the disposition system. So that was, it was interesting to hear. And in speaking about the animations, though, it's definitely looking smoother. And even Joppa mentioned they have been working on it, and they're constantly working on that. It looks so much better than it did like when we on our first or second episode, when we were talking about like kind of our like that was one of the downsides of Pantheon, that it looked clunky. It looks slower.
Very deliberate.
It looks slower than Ashes, but it doesn't look clunky anymore to me.
Yeah, I agree. The animations of spell casting, what happens? Like they were like pops and explosions and. The way that, and there'd been a thing or two that we'd seen that were pretty cool before, like that floating bird, that we'd seen that, but some of those, the spellcasting animations and shadow stepping to things, that was very cool to see.
That was.
Yeah. And
just that one time Joppa was getting pushed off the side, and he just was able to cast
he's mashing the buttons.
Yeah. I can just picture him doing that, yeah. And he just had enough time to get it off while he still had line of sight and save himself from going off the edge. But then next time around, he just got pushed off. It was he didn't learn from his near death. He had to go and die.
Right. Well, he knew he wouldn't die. He was just god moding.
Well, but yeah.
So that encounter was designed for 24 people. It's a 24-person raid
in a broom closet.
In a broom closet. Like, how are you going to fit 24 people on that platform?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, it looked comfortable with 3 people fighting the 2 NPCs, right?
Exactly.
We already have 5 entities of various kinds on that platform. How are you going to fit 24 plus 2? Like
everybody stacked in the corner.
It's going to have to be, and I don't know. Do they body block? Is there like you can't stand on top of someone else because they're standing in that spot?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they can. Yeah, some do, some don't. I remember that there are several games that I've played that you could do. EverQuest was one though. Like everybody would stand like in the corner, and everybody be on literally just in each other's
same
space.
Spot.
Yeah, because
and I've played games like that too, where you can move through each other and it's not a big deal, right? And so that makes this kind of thing make sense,
right?
If you can't do that in Pantheon, that's going to make this a very complex, encounter.
It'll be very interesting to see.
But yeah, this was a raid encounter, and so what they had on display for us was, very complex, programs that run, algorithms maybe, I don't know what you'd call these little workflows
procedures
that happen. Yeah, within a given NPC. So it knows, okay, there are 3 people fighting me, and I am looking for, and the way that like this one that was this kind of algorithm was running was, I'm looking for a person who is X amount of feet away from me,
right?
Who maybe is a spellcaster or something. And if all of those checkboxes happen,
and they're casting a spell.
And yeah, right. Or like maybe a simpler example would be, okay, I'm looking for a spellcaster or a healer who is casting a heal.
Right.
If I see that, interrupt him. Right. So you have that ability. That I've not seen this kind of stuff, this kind of complexity implemented before anywhere. And maybe certain levels of it are out there. I can imagine in a big raid encounter, sure, you're going to see this kind of thing.
I've seen some things, like where you'd be like, all right, so I'm going to go to the second person on the threat table, and I'm going to, that person's the one that I'm going to turn and breathe fire on if it's a dragon. Then there's also the, the random. But I've never seen one where it says, I want to find a healer, or I want to find a caster, or I'm a mana-crazed NPC. I'm going to come in and be uninterruptible and go for whoever has, attack whoever has mana until they're dead or I'm dead.
And be untauntable.
Yeah, be untauntable, and maybe they were interruptible. Yeah, they were untauntable, but they'll be with anybody who has mana, period. That's cool.
And then there's dimensions to this. This is not a unidimensional thing. Okay, this character has been programmed to do this or this or this or this or any combination of them.
Right.
There may be one, and there was an example where they were calling them synergies, right? Where it's a fairly straightforward tank and spank top fight if you're fighting this guy.
Right.
But if and they had Eldritch, Stormhand, and Eyeless, and I forget which order they had these things in, right? But they were fighting one of them. Mm-hmm. And then when the other guy shows up, he has the ability to find someone and stagger them. I forget what quite it was, but it was a debuff of some kind that was half CC, right? Stagger this person. And then the first NPC was programmed that if within a certain radius, find someone who's staggered, do this to that staggered person.
Right.
So there's synergies now between these AI NPCs, which don't exist if you are finding a different combination of them. But then there's different synergies that happen.
Right. But and part of this, and Joppa stressed, is that these synergies will also exist within the PCs. So if you're playing a character that can stagger, then I very well may have an ability that can take advantage of that staggered condition. Or state, I think he called it.
Right. And I mean, NPCs can also exhaust mana supplies. They can run out of mana.
Right.
Which is cool, you know? So they're having to manage... It sounded to me like there wasn't very much difference between your player characters and what you'd run into with NPCs. They can do the same things to each other.
Right.
Is what it sounded
I mean,
like.
they're still going to be limited in some ways. There's only a finite number of things they're going to be able to do, but we're going to need to learn what those are.
Right. Yeah. So, speaking of some of the cool things, there is different types of crowd control, also known as CC,
right?
That we saw. Mm-hmm. There's a mesmerize, and there are different animations associated with each. So, like a mesmerize, you maybe stupor kind of a thing, stun.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Electrocute was an interesting one. Like they can electrocute you. I wonder, by the way, about electrocute. If you have some kind of a resistance to electricity, does that make that less effective on you?
Yeah, maybe
a racial kind of thing, certain types of stuns don't work on you because you have maybe you can take a knock to the head,
right?
So stun isn't as effective.
It's entirely possible. And then the last one, if you are fighting a Karen mob, apparently she can pepper spray you.
You can be pepper sprayed
right before she has to speak to your manager. She's going to pepper spray you.
Right, yes. So maybe if you really like pepper, you're going to be okay.
Maybe, yeah, you like spicy
pepper spray. And it was funny because they mentioned it, and then Joppa was like, I better explain what this is.
Yeah, it's more about the animation that the person goes through. Like
pepper spray.
They're like, kind of thing, so yeah.
Yeah, it's like I mean, we've seen that like in other ways implemented, like a mind blast kind of thing.
Right.
Star Wars: The Old Republic, where we were, like there were certain ones that you could assault someone's mind, and they would do that kind of a thing. So
did I just give you the thumbnail? Put my hands on my face.
Yes, you did. I'll search for it exactly. I tend to find that I am more expressive, so thumbnails for me are a lot easier. But when you do them, like I know which one it is usually pretty easily.
All right. So all in all, I thought it was really neat. Like I thought that the combat looked challenging. You described it as a puzzle. That these combat encounters are going to be, and the puzzle will change from night to night when you encounter it, like depending on what combination of mobs you get.
Right. And the way Joppa explained that, and that was cool to me, is like, okay, so somebody asked in the Q&A section, hey, are we going to procedurally generate this? And he was, no, it is manually picked. We're going to decide what all is out there.
Right.
But for a given, let's say there's a staircase that you climb and there's a mob waiting for you at the top. That mob is probably much always going to be there. It's going to respawn, so you can probably expect something to be there.
Right.
But there is a set of dispositions it could have.
Right.
And it could be any one of those. And then he also talked about an additional layer called traits. You can have up to 3 different traits. I'd like to see what that is. I don't know if what he means is like, it has an innate resistance to electricity or resistance to cold,
right.
Or something, and that maybe is what those traits tend to be. Mm-hmm. But it could have any combination of those things, and then its disposition. So, and every time it respawns, maybe that's what's procedurally generated.
Right. Yeah.
So it could be random, and I mean they said out of the 15 different types of dispositions, 2, 7, 12, and 14, right, are the ones it could be.
Yeah.
But so you may know, okay, look, we kind of know what we're up against, but who knows?
Yeah.
And I imagine certain combinations of things are going to be a lot more lethal than others when you run into them.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in a raid situation, you could run into something that's really challenging and something that might be a little bit easier to deal with. Also, it depends on your group build up, because he mentioned that one where it did the CC and then cleansed HOTS. Well, if you're heavy on Shaman, that could be a problem. But if you're light on Shaman, maybe it's not such a big deal. Maybe you want that combination.
Yeah. And he had said, like, as a tank, I like to have just HOTS just ticking on me all the time because it helps to offset. And the NPC was able to like stun the healer and then cleanse the HOTS off of him.
Yeah.
So he had no more heal over time, right? And that makes that NPC is a lot more lethal, given that healing, I don't know, configuration, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you go in there with. So,
right.
To me, the complexity involved in all of this is really, really cool. I think this is going to make this game incredible. It's going to make it hard to write guides for. I mean, at some stage, we would like to start writing guides for things. Given all of the different abilities or the ways that this could be, we can tell you, hey, be careful, you may run into something.
Right.
But you can't exactly say, okay, this is where you need to stand and this is what you need to do in order to get through this thing. You have to think on your toes as a team to make it happen.
Right, exactly. So
that's incredible to me.
Yeah, so it was. I enjoyed it. It was a really good stream. And even Ronick got to sing for us.
He did, yes. Got to.
I don't know if one line of a verse counts as singing, but I guess that it does. But
well, we all remember Phoebe for Smelly Cat.
Yes.
I think Ronick may be
patchy
remembered for his
for
singing.
patchy notes.
Yeah. Hey, but before we call it, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
This is very hands-on, and it's very meticulously designed for this specific NPC.
Mm-hmm.
Give them all of these things. It's almost like dressing them up like a Barbie, like the kind of work that you and I do in spinning up a D&D character.
Right.
Come up with a background, okay, he's beautiful.
Yeah.
Doing this for a whole game, because Joppa said that they were going to do this manually. It's not procedurally generated. They were doing it. They were giving it the proper treatment for the entire game. Right. Do you think that's going to have an impact on delivery for this kind of thing? Does that slow?
No, I think they've got a plan for it. I think that when he says it's going to be hand done, I think you need to think in terms of bosses and mini bosses. Everybody else is going to be like we're going to have it's going to be like we're going to have this pool of things, like you said. You're going to have it's like ordering takeout food. I want something from column A, something from column B, something from column C. So they'll go through and they'll be like, okay, I've got these choices for these guards at this city, and these are the ones that it can be, and so we'll put that in there, and then they spawn how they spawn out of that pool.
Okay.
But for bosses and mini bosses, I think that's where the hands-on picking specific or custom tailored things are going to be.
Yeah, okay, I can maybe see them building a library, right? Okay, here's our huge library that we've built of all of the creatures in this world, or the guards, or the NPCs, or whoever they all are. And then when you need to populate an area, you pick that one, and that one, and that one, right? And you just kind of put those there, but you don't have to come up with it in its spot doing its thing.
Yeah, I don't, because I think that would be too micromanaged to do every single NPC. Or even group of NPCs would be too much. They're gonna have to have just a like I said, a bucket of them that they pull from.
Right. Let me ask you. Here's another question that we don't even have in our notes, but I want to throw this at you.
All right.
So we have seen on the Ashes side. There's been, in the most recent live stream, we saw a dragon. We saw dragons, right, where they're fighting. We saw people, like, if you're gonna go fight someone or something, it turns out it's a siege weapon, and you have to clank on the siege weapon until it falls apart.
Right.
Right. In this, we're seeing wizards, right, and spellcasters that are very dangerous and whatever, but they're spellcasters, but they're always humanoids. and I'm just asking you this personally, do you think we're going to see dragons or monsters or huge hulking wampas at some point?
Yeah, when they're ready to show them off, they will. I can guarantee it's a fantasy-based game. There's going to be creatures.
Yeah. Can you imagine how awful a dragon is going to be in this game?
It's going to be glorious.
With this kind of logic.
Yeah, that's really
like operating in the background.
Yeah, it'll be like this to the nth degree. Like,
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I really am looking forward to this. I can't wait to see how this starts to shape up, once we start getting to player testing.
It's funny. We came into this project and you were staunchly the Ashes guy, and I was staunchly the Pantheon guy. And it's funny how this project actually has, brought me around more about Ashes and brought you around more about Pantheon. I'm glad for it, because it's it'll make it fun when we play them together.
Yeah, totally. And half the fun is actually, I think it's because both studios have made a point of being transparent.
Right.
And it's another thing in this video that Joppa said, is like, hey, as we're developing these things, we're showing them to you. We're getting it out there. As we bring it to maturity, that's what we feature that month. We let you have a look at it. And so because they're so transparent with it, we get to see the journey, and because you get to be a part of the journey, you kind of this is our team, and you start rooting for the team.
Exactly.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. This game is looking great to me. I was impressed with the armor, the looks. I was impressed with the shadows are looking fantastic. The skill animations, the shadow stepping was cool. The explosions of things, blood bubbles, that were just like hovering above the pools, spilling into those pools. I thought it was just
very cool. And it would be great if they would find a way to like get Bob the Builder in the background of the stream, or maybe even in the game as a nod to Ashes and Jeff.
Right. Yes. So I'm very impressed. I just can't wait to get my hands on this. I'm sure everybody's starting to feel that way. I know the content creators are just loved it. Like it was, this one was really a good.
Lots of beans.
Good. Yes, lots of good beans.
All right, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Disparate Worlds, on Twitter at Disparate Worlds, and our website, disparateworlds.org. In addition to our website, and in the description below, is a link to our Discord. Please join us there.
Yes. Thanks, guys. We very much appreciate you joining us. Shorter episode for a change. This is not like us. I know,
right?
We're very long-winded, sir.
I know. I kept you on a leash today.
Shut him down. Don't let him yak too much, I guess. Very good. You did a good job. So yeah, that's it for us this episode, guys. Thanks again for watching. Drop a comment. Do the whole like and subscribe thing. There's a notification bell. Do hit that as well so that you don't miss upcoming episodes. All of that said, take care of yourselves. Remember always to be immovable in your principles and irresistible in your passion.